Ever found yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a message that never comes? Or planning out dates that never happen? We've all been there, wandering in the confusing maze of modern dating, where read at 9:03 p.m. feels like a verdict on our love life. Today, we're diving into the unspoken words and actions that scream louder than any text message ever could. But before we unravel the mysteries of dating signals, let me take you back to a time when I was just like you, decoding signals in the dark. Picture this, a younger me full of hope and naive charm, believing that every glance, every accidental touch was a harbinger of love. There was this girl, let's call her Jane. Jane was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, funny, and with a smile that could light up the darkest days. We'd text, hang out in groups, and every time she laughed at my jokes, I'd think, this is it, she's the one. But as weeks turned into months, I started noticing things. Texts took longer to come back if they ever did. Plans fell through like sand between fingers, always with a plausible excuse from Jane. I'm just really swamped with work, she'd say, or, oh, I totally forgot we had plans. And I, in my ever-hopeful ignorance, would always give her the benefit of the doubt. It wasn't until I heard her talking about a date with another guy that the rose-colored glasses shattered. I was devastated, not just by the rejection, but by how blind I'd been to the signs. It took me a while, but I learned. I learned that sometimes the signs are not in what people say, but in what they don't say. In what they do, or more importantly, in what they don't do. Reflecting on those days, I realized that my experience wasn't unique. It was a rite of passage in the complex world of dating. A lesson in reading between the lines, understanding that actions speak volumes, and most importantly, learning to see the value in myself beyond someone else's approval. If this scenario sounds all too familiar, take a moment to comment down below with your experiences. Also, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As we delve into these signs, remember, they're common experiences many of us face. Together, we'll explore what these signs really mean, helping us navigate the dating world with a clearer perspective and a stronger sense of self. 1. She constantly flakes on plans. Imagine this. You're all set for a date that you've been looking forward to all week. You've chosen your outfit, planned the perfect outing, and even thought of conversation topics to avoid awkward silences. Then, an hour before you're supposed to meet, your phone lights up with a message from her. Another cancellation. Something urgent has come up, she says. Again, this scenario is all too common and leaves you in a whirlwind of confusion and disappointment. At first, you're understanding. Life happens, right? But when last-minute cancellations become the norm rather than the exception, it's a glaring red flag waving right in front of you. Why does it sting so much? Because each cancellation isn't just about a missed movie or dinner. It's a signal that you're not a priority. It's the anticipation turned into frustration, the excitement turned into disillusionment. It's the hope that this time will be different, crushed under the weight of yet another excuse. But here's the deal. Consistent flakiness is more than just annoying. It's disrespectful of your time and feelings. It's a subtle message being loud and clear. She's not as invested in this as you are. And while it's tempting to make excuses for her, to hope against hope that things will change, it's crucial to face the reality of the situation. So what do? First, take a step back and reflect on the pattern. Is this a one-time thing, or is it part of a larger pattern of behavior? If it's the latter, it's a sign to reevaluate your willingness to be treated this way. Remember, someone who genuinely wants to spend time with you will make the effort. They'll prioritize you and respect your time. It's about finding someone who looks forward to your plans as much as you do, not someone for whom you're an afterthought. Let this be a lesson in valuing your own time and emotional well-being. It's not about being hard on yourself or them. It's about recognizing what you deserve. Respect is a two-way street, and you deserve someone who meets you halfway. 2, she keeps reinforcing that you're just friends. It's a phrase as old as time, or at least as old as romantic pursuits have been. We're just friends. But when it's repeated like a mantra, it's not just a status update. It's a boundary being drawn in the sand, sometimes so subtly you might miss it amidst your hopes and daydreams. This situation often unfolds in a familiar script. You're spending time together, sharing laughs, and maybe even a few meaningful glances, or so you think. Then, just as you're about to read deeper into the connection you're sure is blooming, she drops the F-bomb. You're such a great friend. At first, it feels like a compliment, doesn't it? Being a great friend is good, but when your heart is aiming for a different title, being reminded of your role can feel like being handed a consolation prize in a competition you didn't realize you were losing. Why does she keep emphasizing your friendship? Is it a gentle nudge to maintain the status quo? A reminder of her comfort zone with you? It's a line that, when crossed, changes everything, and perhaps that's exactly why it's there. To keep everything just as it is, comfortable and without the complications of romance. This repeated assertion of friendship, especially when you've hinted at or expressed more profound feelings, is a clear signal. It's her way of saying, this is where we stand, without having to confront the messy intricacies of unreciprocated affection. It's a safety net, ensuring that the friendship that exists, an undoubtedly valuable connection, is preserved, even at the cost of not exploring something deeper. So you find yourself at a crossroads, armed with the knowledge that your feelings aren't mirrored in the way you hoped. The repeated affirmations of friendship are not placeholders for something more. They are the reality of your relationship as it stands in her eyes. Navigating this realization is like walking a tightrope between valuing what you have and mourning what will never be. The Just Friends label, as much as it might chafe, is not just a commentary on your relationship. It's a boundary, a clear demarcation of her feelings, leaving you to decide how or if you can adjust your own. 3. Her replies to your texts are blunt and dull. In the digital age, where conversations flow through screens and connections are made with the press of a button, the art of texting has its own language, its own rhythm. When you're into someone, every message is a note in a symphony, building up to a crescendo of mutual interest. But what happens when the notes are off-key? When the replies are as cold as the screen they're displayed on? Picture this. You send a thoughtful message, maybe something about your day or a topic you know she's interested in, and after what feels like an eternity, your phone finally buzzes. The anticipation builds, only to be met with a single word, or even more disheartening, the dreaded K. It's like throwing a ball and watching it fall to the ground with no one there to catch it. This pattern of blunt and dull replies is a tune you become all too familiar with, a signal that the interest you're investing is not finding fertile ground. It's not just the brevity of her messages, but the absence of effort they represent. Where you see potential for depth, she maintains the shallows, keeping the conversation anchored in the bare minimum. It's a challenging pill to swallow, recognizing that the enthusiasm you feel is a one-way street. Each message you send is a step towards her, and each blunt reply is a step she takes back. It's a dance of digital disinterest, leaving you questioning the steps you thought you were learning together. In this realm of read receipts and typing indicators, the weight of silence grows heavy, and the brevity of her messages builds a wall you find increasingly difficult to penetrate. The stark difference between the energy you bring to your conversations and the energy she returns is a map of the distance between your affections, with every dull reply marking a point further away from where you hope to be. Navigating this disconnect becomes a test of reading between the lines, of understanding that sometimes the lack of words speaks volumes. The digital conversation becomes a mirror of your interactions, reflecting a reality that, despite your best efforts, remains unchanged by emojis or eloquence. 4. She avoids you for days and responds to you intermittently. In the dance of modern dating, consistency is the rhythm that keeps partners in step with each other. But when the music stops and starts unpredictably, the dance becomes a solo performance of waiting and wondering. This intermittent communication, days of silence, followed by sudden bursts of conversation, leaves you hanging on a thread, each pause a test of patience, each response a glimmer of hope, quickly overshadowed by the next wave of avoidance. Imagine the scenario. You've had a great conversation, the kind that makes you think, finally we're getting somewhere. Then, silence. One day passes, then 2, then 3. Your phone becomes a beacon of hope, each notification a potential sign she's back, ready to pick up where you left off. But the silence stretches on, leaving you adrift in a sea of unanswered questions. When she does respond, it's like the sun breaking through the clouds, a rush of relief, a reason to smile. Yet this warmth is fleeting as the pattern repeats. trapping you in a cycle of emotional highs and lows. This roller coaster, driven by her unpredictable presence in your life, becomes a taxing journey of emotional resilience. The impact of this intermittent communication goes beyond frustration. It becomes a mirror reflecting your own worth through her willingness to engage. Each cycle of silence and response subtly shifts the ground beneath you, leaving you questioning not just her interest, but your own value in her eyes. This stop-start dynamic, akin to the flickering of a faulty light, illuminates a fundamental imbalance in your connection. The effort to keep the conversation going becomes a solo endeavor, the hope of consistent engagement, a beacon that grows dimmer with each passing day of silence. The emotional toll of this inconsistency is not just in the waiting, but in the weight of realization that comes with it. The understanding that genuine interest does not ebb and flow like the tide, but remains constant, a steady current guiding two people together. The intermittent responses, then, are not just pauses in communication, but signposts pointing to a truth that, however unwelcome, must be acknowledged. As we reach the midpoint of our journey together in this video, it's a moment to acknowledge your dedication to mastering the art of dating with resilience. If you're still with us, it's clear you're committed to growth and self-understanding in the face of dating's challenges. Hit like on this video now as a promise to yourself to become undefeatable, to navigate dating's ups and downs with unwavering strength and insight. Remember, being undefeatable doesn't mean you won't face setbacks or moments of doubt. It means that each time you do, you'll rise with greater wisdom and strength. Now let's continue. 5. She never initiates meetings between you two. In a world where taking the initiative can signify interest and intent, a conspicuous absence of such gestures becomes telling. You find yourself always being the one to suggest meeting up, crafting plans in the hope of spending time together. Yet from her side, the initiative to see you, to share moments together outside the digital realm, remains absent. This one-sided effort to maintain physical proximity speaks volumes, echoing through the void of her non-initiative. It's a silent message resonating with the clarity of actions not taken, opportunities not seized. This dynamic, where one soul tirelessly bridges the gap, hoping to close the emotional and physical distance, becomes a testament to imbalance. Each plan made, each initiative taken, underscores a growing realization: the effort is one-sided. The absence of her initiative, the silence on her part to weave your worlds together, resonates with a clarity that's hard to ignore. It's a realization that blooms slowly, the understanding that mutual interest fuels mutual effort, a fuel seemingly absent on her side. 6. She tells you, directly and in words, that she's not interested. There comes a moment, stark and unambiguous, where words spoken leave no room for doubt. When she tells you, in no uncertain terms, that her interest does not mirror yours, it's a pivotal juncture. This clarity, however painful, slices through the ambiguity of mixed signals, offering a bitter truth over the sweetness of hopeful misinterpretation. Hearing these words, a direct expression of disinterest, is a crossroads moment. It's an invitation to face reality, however distant it may be from the one you hoped to inhabit with her. This admission, raw and unfiltered, demands a confrontation with one's own hopes and expectations, challenging you to realign your emotional compass. It marks a moment of painful clarity, a definitive answer in a sea of maybes, a signal to redirect the energy you're investing elsewhere. 7. She doesn't introduce you to friends or family. Integration into one's social and familial circles is often a sign of deepening connection and interest. When such introductions are absent, when your presence in her life remains segmented from those she holds dear, it's a signpost of her intentions, or lack thereof. This compartmentalization, keeping you siloed from the other facets of her life, speaks volumes about the place you occupy in her world. Significant, perhaps, but not integral. This separation, the deliberate choice to keep you at the periphery of her broader social and familial circles, is a clear indication of the boundaries of her interest. It's a realization that unfolds slowly, the understanding that being kept at arm's length is not merely a matter of circumstance, but of choice. The absence of effort to integrate you into her wider world reflects a reservation of heart, a demarcation line of how close she's willing to let you get. 8. She talks about other guys she's interested in. When conversations with her increasingly center around other romantic interests, it's a signal, clear as daylight, of where you stand. This recurring theme, where you become the sounding board for her romantic explorations elsewhere, delineates your role in her life with precision. Confidant, yes, but not contender. The sting of these discussions, the ease with which she shares her attractions to others, is a mirror reflecting your position in her emotional landscape, present but peripheral. This dynamic, where you're privy to the details of her romantic pursuits, is a stark reminder of the unreciprocated feelings you harbor. It's a challenging pill to swallow, recognizing that your place in her narrative is not as the lead, but as a supporting character. The realization that her heart wanders paths you cannot follow is a turning point, a moment of reckoning with the reality of your unmet hopes. 9. She calls you only when she needs something. The transformation of your interactions into transactions, where your value is measured by the utility you provide, marks a significant shift in the nature of your connection. This dynamic, where engagement is sought not for the joy of shared company, but for the fulfillment of need, lays bare the foundation of your interactions. Each call, each request, becomes a tally mark, evidencing a relationship predicated more on convenience than on mutual respect and affection. Navigating this realization, the understanding that your role is defined by what you can offer rather than who you are, is a journey through disappointment to clarity. It's a process of discerning the difference between being valued and being useful, a distinction as painful as it is pivotal. The pattern of being sought out in moments of need, absent the warmth of genuine connection, is a clear indicator of the limits of her interest, a boundary drawn not by distance, but by disposition. 10. She doesn't remember or know anything about you. In every interaction, every shared moment, there's an opportunity to learn about each other, to store away likes and dislikes, hopes and fears as treasures. But what happens when you realize that the chest where you've been storing these treasures for her is essentially empty on her side? The realization that she doesn't remember the details you've shared, that she knows little about you, cuts deeper than a mere oversight. It's a reflection of the level of attention and care, or the lack thereof, that she's extending towards your connection. This lack of knowledge about you, the absence of curiosity to know more, signifies more than just a forgetful mind. It symbolizes disinterest. When your stories slip through her consciousness like sand, leaving no impression, it speaks to the weight of your presence in her life. It's disheartening to realize that the moments and details that are vivid and important in your narrative barely make a ripple in hers. The emotional impact of this realization can't be understated. It's not just about the hurt that comes from understanding that you're not on her mind. It's about grappling with the implication that the connection you valued may not be as deep or as reciprocal as you believed. The disparity between the effort you make to know her and the effort she makes to know you lays bare a fundamental imbalance in your relationship. Navigating through this realization is akin to walking through a gallery of memories alone, recognizing that the companion you thought was beside you, taking in every detail, has been absent. The journey of understanding that the depth you sought in your interactions is unmet, that the investment of your emotions and attention is unmatched, is a silent trek through disappointment. As we draw the curtains on this journey through the maze of unreciprocated feelings and the signs of disinterest, it's time to step back and reflect on the essence of what we've uncovered together. Each story, each sign we've navigated, serves not just as a beacon of awareness, but as a mirror, reflecting our own desires, expectations, and sometimes the hard truths we must face in the realm of connection and affection. The journey of discerning interest, of reading between the lines of actions and inactions, is a complex dance of emotion and logic. It's about understanding that the silence, the avoidance, the absence of initiative, and the forgetfulness all weave together a narrative far more telling than any words left unsaid. These signs, though painful to acknowledge, are crucial in guiding us towards a fundamental understanding of where we stand in someone's life. But here lies the crux of our exploration. What will you do if a girl does these 10 things? This question, poised at the outset, circles back to us, now laden with the weight of introspection and insight. It's a question that doesn't seek a straightforward answer, but rather invites you to delve into the depths of your own values, desires, and the boundaries you set for yourself in the pursuit of affection and connection. The realization that someone may not be as invested in us as we are in them is not just an end, but a beginning. A starting point for a deeper self-exploration of what we seek in relationships, the standards we hold, and the respect we demand. It's a call to action, not necessarily to walk away, but to reflect on our self-worth and the importance of mutual respect and interest in any meaningful connection. So as you stand at this crossroads, armed with knowledge and insight, the choice of path forward is yours. The signs of disinterest, while guiding lights, are not determinants of your worth, but indicators of compatibility, reminders of the necessity of reciprocity in love and life. Let this exploration be a catalyst for conversation, not just with others, but with yourself. What value do you place on mutual interest? How do you navigate the waters of modern dating with respect for yourself and others? And ultimately, how do you reconcile the longing for connection with the reality of disinterest? As you ponder these questions, remember that the journey of understanding others begins with understanding oneself. The answers, like the signs, may not always be clear, but they are there, whispering truths about who we are and what we truly seek in the tapestry of human connection. Let's leave the question open as we began. If a girl does these 10 things, what will you do? The floor is yours, not just to answer, but to question, reflect, grow, and become undefeatable.